This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby, the usual suspect Steve, and special guest Chris from the Channel 83 podcast take the 444th portal to the Forest of Resurrection to discuss Ryuhei Kitamura's verses from the year 2000. Side quests include Street Fighter the movie and its Dee Jay problem, getting braced in Bulgaria, and a very special colloquial corner that will have you questioning Dr. Pepper and its relation to space-time. Have you seen The Fifth Element? Let's wax this rival porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
See, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back at the crown chakra.
All right, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We are back again, continuing on with our 2-month-long salute to the Halloween season. Horror's the name, and talking shit is our game. We're keeping the juice running this time. We're on episode 25 now, revisiting, I might fuck this name up, Ryuhei Kitamura's film from the year 2000, Versus. It's an action horror zombie splatterfest dipped in a little Japanese mysticism, ? So tonight, or whenever it is you're tuning in, you're treated to myself, Jim, G-Baby.
The funk of 40,000 years.
G-Funk.
And of course, we also have the usual suspect, Steve.
Hello.
Carlos Blanca.
Oh my god.
Charlie.
We're gonna have to take the board away from me at some point.
I made that faux specials just for you.
Yo, Giles' friend.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. Looking forward to this one.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. And then special moment for the cast. We actually have our first guest joining us this time. We have the distinct honor and pleasure to welcome a friend of the show, Chris from the TV Guide for Weirdos, Channel 83 podcast. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great.
Long live the new flesh.
I made one for you too, special.
Nice, thank you.
What was that?
That was James Woods from Videodrome.
Oh shit!
A movie I can only assume you haven't seen.
No, definitely not.
It's a safe bet. Yeah, that's one we'll get into for sure. There'll be a sprinkling of Cronenberg in our future if we keep this going, I believe. That's a fun one too, especially like
I already feel like the special needs little brother who's like being taken to the art museum, and you guys know everything you're talking about. And I'm like, I like the blue one.
Well, hey, I will say that I am sort of a combination of both of your worst movie watching traits. I've got the Jim, like, I watch a shit ton of movies and quote things that no one cares about. But I also have Steve's thing where I haven't seen like any important movie ever. Like Indiana Jones, never seen any of that shit.
whoa.
I just saw Gladiator for the first time like last year.
Then
So
you'll probably
name a
get to,
famous movie and I haven't seen it.
Shawshank.
I think I've seen parts of it because it was on TNT all the time.
Oh, you are going to experience, and you're getting a little flavor of it right now. Gwenza he's like a tea kettle that's slowly warming up, and you're gonna drop a title on him, and he might fall out of his chair. He's trying to hold back, but he is like already flabbergasted.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Maybe I make up for it, though, because I did watch Black Rain on his recommendation a few years ago, so at least I've seen that.
And as you can see in the background here, I got you can partially see the Black Rain poster.
That's just a stupid fucking movie.
Didn't you like that one, though? Was it
I did.
It was just like...
Yeah, no, I liked it.
Okay. It wasn't like...
Have you guys discussed whether or not Steve liked this movie yet?
No, we haven't.
We have not.
And that,
Do you want to do a prediction between me and you, Jim?
sure.
I predict he didn't like it.
I'm on the fence. I think in my heart of hearts, ding, 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 that he isn't going to like it. But I want, wow. There's based on a couple scenes in the movie, they may have been enough to pull him to the other side. But, so I don't think I'd be shocked either way. But I think at the end of the day, yeah, I'm going to say no. So.
Okay. We'll see.
Real quick before we get into the movie, too, I just want to say too, we're tickled to have you on and appreciate you making the time. Did you want to, before we get into this, just briefly talk about your previous project, Channel 83 podcast, and or anything else you want to add before we get into the main course?
Yeah, so I used to do a podcast for like 2 years. I guess actually the original idea for it was very similar to what you guys are doing, is that but more, horror centric, because that's really what I'm into. But I also moved to another state where I didn't know anybody, and I kind of wanted to keep in contact with one of my friends who hasn't seen any movies. So it was a very similar concept. But as both of you know, that it takes a long time to do a podcast. It's more of a commitment than people actually realize. I mean, even though episodes are only like an hour and a half, but you still have to like sit down, watch movies, think about them, try to make it interesting. So the other dude ended up dropping out, and I kind of just dove full steam into it and did that for a couple of years. And eventually kind of got tired of it, tired of the time commitment. And here we are today. Now I get the luxury of just guesting on other people's podcasts, which is much more fun and much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, out of the blue, like by happenstance and kind of the little community I found myself in over the past couple of years that are all have started their own podcasts. Like, I know I have friends who've started, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 podcasts like in the last year and a half. And we all kind of support each other. And so I've been lucky enough to guest already on 2 shows. And the experience, I won't say more fun, it was just different, but maybe more fun in a different way. If I'm really going to ride this fucking fence right down the middle. But it was cool not like having to like, manage everything and be like, the DM, I guess, or clock watching everything and editing. So, and just kind of sit back and be plucky and have a good time. So I can see the appeal for sure, like in that kind of guest capacity, and it is a lot more, that people I think go into it, but,
for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's maybe 1 or 2 other like, single host podcasts that I listen to. So I think that's like listening to all your stuff. I think that's a mark of excellence, because I don't think many people can pull it off real well.
Well, I'm not sure that I did. I tried my best, but it definitely has its limitations.
Chris is being modest. Channel 83 is a banger podcast, especially horror centric. And I think what your stated goal was, and I may fuck this up, but like, in search of like the novelty and really obscure stuff, and like having the deep knowledge about it and bringing to light. Like, I even remember one of the episodes was you touched on the concept of hidden gems, which I'm guilty of what you railed against, I think, now and again too. But like people not really plumbing the depths and going past the surface level and thinking those are like deep cuts or hidden gems.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think like what you did with your cast, like you really did shine a light on these hidden gems that are fucking super obscure, yet like, I think important and just cool shit. I'm glad that I found along the way. Even stuff that sucks, like stuff that sucks. It's so bad it's good. I mean, there's something to be said for that too.
Well, a lot of that was just like, I think I've said this several times on that podcast. It's like, what the fuck am I going to add to the conversation about Psycho or Halloween? Mm-hmm. Like, they teach academic courses on those films. I don't think random dude in Minnesota is really going to have any insight that someone already hasn't had.
Right. And like, just like a couple of friends were talking about like the new Dahmer series that came out on Netflix. It's like, do we have to fucking continue? It's like, there's so much other stuff that could be, you know, pumped up, or like, you know, missing persons, or, you know, things that are worthy. It's like they've done like 10 or 12 series or movies about Dahmer and the surrounding case in like the last 15 years. It's like, at what point is it just like lazy, or, you know, just making light of like the family struggles and everything and just completely exploiting it? So, anyway, getting off on a philosophical tangent.
It's crazy that people keep like going back and watching it, you know, because you would think at a certain point it's like we have harvested everything we can from this buffalo, you know, but I mean they put it out and people keep fucking watching it. So I don't know if it's the same small group of people who keep watching whatever comes out, or maybe it's reaching new people. But yeah, there's like so much other cool shit that you hear about, and you're like, why have I never heard about this before? But I've heard about, you know, the Ed Geins and the Dahmers and the Ted Bundys like ad nauseum. So
Another thing with the whole Dahmer thing is, like I saw on Reddit or something, like someone was comparing a scene from that new miniseries to like the actual courtroom footage, and as an example of like, oh, look how accurate it is. Well, like, you can actually just go to Court TV and watch the actual court case.
Right.
Because that's a thing that exists for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were doing the Jason Simpson one, I was looking up, it was either like Law and Crime or Court TV or whoever owns that video footage now, and it was like hundreds and hundreds of hours. Like they have the entire case just archived if anybody wants to go watch the entire fucking thing. And
damn.
Like we were talking about during that episode, I had no idea that the trial went on like for the better part of a year. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. I think I said in that podcast too, like I grew up with one of my mom's boyfriends at the time was like pre-law at Chico State, and he was like, he was working on that as like part of his thesis, and they ended up at his thesis at the end of the year, they did like a mock trial of like the OJ case, and they changed all the names. So like Mark Furman was Mark Perman or Perham. And I remember I went there and I saw him give his thesis. I was like fucking 10, 11 years old. And I like sat like in the crowd of, you know, watching all this go on. So yeah, that shit was like indelibly like burned, that whole case in my mind for like a better part of 11 months or whatever it was. Like,
yeah, I'm the same way. When I was listening to that episode, it was kind of reminds me of, you know, talking to people that are a little bit younger than me. I know there's a little bit of an age gap between you two. And same with me and my wife. She's like 4 or 5 years younger than me. But anyone in that age group, the only way I can describe it is like growing up, there was the OJ case and then nothing happened. And then 9/11. Like, those are the two things I remember, like the major events. And I guess Oklahoma City bombing was a big one because I lived in Dallas.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that was even more at the forefront for you. Yeah, I remember growing up, there was a couple other, like, I think it depends on where you're at, too. Like, regionally, like, things kind of were at a certain level, so they're more up in your face. But then now, like, post 9/11, maybe a few years after, with the exponential runaway of like internet and like everything being available all the time, it seems like those things just like multiplied, or you know, it was more visible, you have more access, that kind of argument back and forth. But yeah, like for me, like growing up in the Central Valley of California was the Lacey Peterson case. That was huge. That was like in the paper every single day for like fucking 9 months or 10 months. And same with like Chandra Levy, because that congressman, that was his district and she was from there. So yeah, there
was a lot of that, but that happened like right before 9/11, right? And then everyone stopped talking about it.
Dude, the Chandra Levy case is one I would actually like to get into one of these days, because there is some funky stuff going on between that and like how it kind of like it disappeared. Like 9/11 was this big thing, the biggest thing, arguably, and the biggest fucking thing. And yeah, so that kind of got shoved on, like swept under the carpet, that, which is interesting. Gary Condit, dude, he was on the like House Select Committee of like Foreign Affairs or Defense. I'm butchering that. He was on, like, he had high level, like top secret shit. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, so I'm going to stop myself. But
Gary Condit did 9/11.
yes, that's what I'm. So it's a short story.
I remember
Entirely
the night,
possible.
I remember the night Princess Diana died, mostly because we had just gone to see Con Air, so it was like pretty much the greatest night of my life for two reasons.
Was not able to predict where you were going with that.
Yeah, me neither. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, check out Channel 83. Your stuff's still online. It's all archived. I think Spotify is the only thing that you're not on. Last I checked.
Yeah. So in your last episode, when you played out with wig splitters, you got to be careful because it's that exact sort of thing that got me banned from Spotify for life.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I was unsure, and I was like, dude, we're so small. I bet that's not even going to matter, but it's funny that
they're not on Spotify, so you should be good. But like the difference between Spotify and like if you get a copyright claim on YouTube is like Spotify provides you no recourse. Like you can't say, hey, I'm pretty sure I sent him an email. I was like, I'm pretty sure this falls under fair use, but they just don't respond to you.
Huh.
Oh, that sucks.
Just cold shoulder. Yeah, it's funny. I remember that episode when you mentioned that, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's weird. Yeah, it's a funny story that the guy behind Wig Splitters, it took me a long time. I actually got a hold of that dude. Excuse me. And he's in like Germany. He's in like Europe.
Did you find the park bench he was living on?
No, dude. Weirdly enough, I want to say he's like German or like Flemish or something. He's from that area of Europe. I actually got a hold of him. I was like, because I wanted to use one of his songs I was confident that I could scrub out like the vocals because I really like this chunk of the instrumental and I wanted to use it for the intro.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got a hold of him. I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what our podcast is about, blah, blah, blah. Can I use this segment of track 3, The Days Are Getting Darker? You know that one, Steve? The days are getting darker. Anyway, he was like, yeah, totally. You can use it.
Oh, wait. That's the guy who's all his shit sounds like he's Andre the Giant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The days are getting darker.
Oh, God.
Mohood.
Does anybody want a peanut?
Yeah, so at least for that, maybe he said back then. I still have the email, so that's one thing in my corner, I suppose. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. I play a lot of bumps and even our cover art. I'm not sure if we'll get popped for that, but we'll see. So anyway, yeah, check out Channel 83. It's got some great shit. The Jacko, I think the 3 that stand out in my mind are the Jacko episode that you did. That was fucking awesome. And the Rutger Hauer retrospective especially is super rad. I really like that.
What was he in that we really liked him in?
Blade Runner.
You liked him a lot. You said you liked him a lot as the main baddie, Roy Batty in Blade Runner.
Yeah. God,
also,
that movie sucks.
I gotta say, I'm on Steve's side. Blade Runner is like a movie that, if you know me, on paper, it's everything I should love, but it is fucking boring.
I'll give you that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
But I'm also on Jim's side. Steve, you should check out 2049 because it's way better than the original movie.
I won't go that far, but
I'd give it a shot.
I won't go that far, but I will say I really fucking like Blade Runner 2049. I put them on their own island.
They're very different. So not liking one doesn't necessarily mean you won't like the other.
Yeah, there's just like similar like individual characters or like, you know, the name of this thing that calls back everything else, like the acting, the cinematography, the story. The story is fucking so good. It's a really satisfying story, I think.
How does the level of rain compare to the first one?
Hardly any.
Yeah.
That I remember.
Yeah, if anything,
Quit digging. You struck oil.
if anything, it's just more, I think, ash or almost like this like snow kind of in a few scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, really so that'll save you. There's a dearth of rain to be found. Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah. Little quick hitter about Jacko. I don't think you touched on it in your episode, but I came to find out later on. Do you know about the? I think they did like a director's cut recently. Someone put it out, and they have a director's commentary with the director and maybe a producer. Two dudes that like they basically sound like they're about to throw down watching the movie.
Yeah. So that's what I heard. I watched it on VHS. I couldn't find the DVD because at the time, like this newer edition had not been put out. I assume it's probably one of those like boutique labels that
Yeah, I think it's like
are so popular
Arrow
right
or
now.
Vinegar Syndrome or
Right.
someone like that. But
that's in the IMDb trivia. That was like the producer and the director hate each other and almost fought on the commentary. I was like, I really want to listen to it.
dude, it's really good. There's another podcast, Straight Chilling, covered it pretty recently, and they talked about that in depth, and they played a couple sound bites from it. Really fucking funny.
Yeah, I need to check that
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
I don't know what this movie is. Jacko?
Jacko. Mr. Jack.
You wouldn't like it. It's not
It's
important.
terrible, yeah.
It's a piece of
Yeah.
shit.
But it's funny.
But it's like the horseshoe thing though. Like if it's so bad that it circles all the way back around to good, I can get on board. But if it's just really fucking bad but not terrible, then it's in that kind of zone, the dead zone.
Yeah.
I would say it has a couple of those moments, but not enough to justify watching a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you had gone through the experience of watching it, I think it's fun to talk shit about it. And especially that new director's commentary, like the back and forth. Anyway. All right.
That would be fun to listen to. Like the producers like, that was a choice you made right there, huh?
That's not far off, dude. Like the way it's real catty, and then it's passive aggressive at points, and then it sounds like full blown. These 50-year-old men are about to duke it out right now.
Like, tell us exactly what the fuck you were thinking here.
Chase, don't do
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was just thinking of.
Yeah. I need to be quicker on the bumps. That's one thing.
No. I want to hear it from your lips.
All right. So let's get right into so with bumps, I'll just double them up. I'll overcompensate. All right. So versus
How do you have so many? I thought you were running out of room on your board.
I cleaned it up a bit because sometimes when I have such a choice, such a buffet, that's when I get that fight, flight, or freeze. I freeze. So I've
Paralysis.
I've narrowed it down.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, exactly. I've narrowed it down to just the choice nugs, as it were. All right, so I guess verses from the year 2000, starting with you, Steve, since this is your first time watch. What did you think? Great film or the greatest film?
I fucking hated
I knew it.
the first 90 minutes. I hated, and I was toggling back and forth between almost falling asleep and being just like white hot with anger with how much I hated it. But then the last 30 minutes definitely redeemed it a little bit. But I was just so angry for the first 90 minutes. Like, just, we're not going to explain anything. Somehow, also keep in mind, this is the first time I've watched it, so I think you guys might have the benefit of when you rewatch it, sort of having that knowledge going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, when they finally started explaining, like, oh yeah, these are guys they fucking fought before or whatever. I put the cursor over the thing, like, what? Where are we at? 90 minutes into this movie,
Yeah.
which was somehow fully action and gore packed, but boring as shit at the same time. I don't know how that's possible, but yeah. Once I got that out of the way, and then the last 30 minutes I felt were pretty entertaining. So now you guys can go ahead and rip on me for as long as you want.
Hey, you guys bomb on me 30, 40 more times. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm actually kind of feel the opposite of what you said, Steve, is like, I liked this a lot more when I first saw it, but I did see it close to when it came out. And also I've never seen The Matrix. So,
Whoa.
Yeah. As far as a rewatch, I would rather watch a video of my dead grandparents fucking before I watch this movie again.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's oh god, I just couldn't do it. It was a strug, that's for sure.
I can definitely understand how someone watching it with 2022 eyes would not have a good time, and that's what I kept thinking watching it this time.
I couldn't believe it was from the year 2000.
From the year 2000.
You could have told me it was 94, and I would have believed it for sure. I was really happy because I briefly started to look up little pieces of trivia and then just got angry again and shut it. But I did see the budget was like, 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever it was, and the worldwide
10,000.
10,000 in the world. What did I see? And it said the worldwide gross was like 50,000. Like good.
I bet since then, like the its cult status and like sales on DVD, maybe not. I feel like they've had to been able to pull something else more than that out of it.
So this says the budget was 400,000 estimated, and the gross worldwide was 55. But I don't claim to know what the fuck this means. You know what else had a cult following? Charles Manson.
True.
Touche.
So why don't you tell me what you like about it? And I mean, like last episode, I probably changed my mind 2 or 3 times throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I guess for me, I saw this also very close to when it came out. Maybe not very close is the right word, but I can't even remember the year. I want to say it's for sure before like 2006. So I want to say somewhere between like 2004 and 2006. And it was on like haphazardly on like the IFC channel when that was a thing. Maybe something else. It was on cable, some obscure cable channel, but it was on at like fucking 12:55 at night, and
prime time.
Yeah, and yeah, I tuned into it randomly. I think I maybe missed like the first 5 minutes, because when I watched it again, everything seemed familiar. But this is one like I watched one time. I was like, that was fucking really weird and different, but something about it, I couldn't put my finger on why I liked it or why I enjoyed it. And so I've literally the second time I've ever seen it was last night. So
let me ask you guys this real quick, because you sent me a link to it on one of the, there's so many of these streaming platforms now. I don't even remember what it's called, but it had closed captioning and it was dubbed over
in English.
But the two were conflicting with each other, which was extremely distracting.
It's pretty common actually with shit like this.
Oh my god, it was, but it wasn't even like small grammar issues or like syntax issues.
Yeah, there wholesale like changes,
vast swaths of, I should have written down a couple, because some of them were like, what the fuck? How did that get lost in translation? Because it would be like, hello, and then it's like, what time is it, buddy? Like,
yeah,
not even close.
I bet anybody listening that has like an ounce more experience than you with these kind of obscure movies and like dubs and subtitles is like, first time, huh? Like it's at least in my experience. I don't know, Chris, back me up. This is pretty common.
Yeah, for sure. There's one movie, I think it was one of the guinea pig films called He Never Dies, where there was a man speaking in English and it was dubbed over in Japanese, and the subtitles, it had Japanese subtitles at the bottom that had English subtitles on top of those. And the English subtitles don't match what he's saying. And
Oh, weird.
I have ADHD, and I about had a conniption fit right then.
I was trying so hard to just turn off the closed captioning, but I couldn't do it. So then I tried to like adjust the screen so I wouldn't see the shit on bottom, but I couldn't not read it. And yeah, so that was an interesting experience.
Yeah, that shit drives me insane. I'm one of those people, like, if the video and sound is unsynced by like 1/10 of a second, I can't watch it.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I'm that same way too, but weirdly enough for this, I watched the same stream you did, Steve, and I think this is the theatrical cut that runs right on the money, like 2 hours. Or an hour and 50 minutes. Could be wrong. It's definitely not. They came out with an ultimate cut recently that's like adds another 10 minutes, I think.
Jesus Christ.
Because that's what this movie needs to be longer.
Yeah, it was every second of 2 hours, and it felt like 2 calendar days.
I guess to finish from my end on my take of this, I understand where you're coming from too, especially like you said, Chris, watching it with 2022 eyes. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I did when I was 20 or 21 when I first saw this, whenever that was, early 20s. But I think this time I thought it was more funny. There was a couple more scenes that I picked up on that I found myself inadvertently chuckling to, but like all in all, it's just a goofy movie. And I thought too, Steve, like the last 30 minutes, that's what I was like, if anything is going to pull him back from the edge, it's going to be this and maybe some of those humorous moments. But yeah, in my heart of hearts, I was like, yeah, I don't think he's going to like this one because I'm not as high on it as I thought I was.
So I watched it earlier today, and even just looking back, I don't know what they put in the first 90 minutes. Like I couldn't tell you. It's a lot of just gratuitous violence, which I'm a huge supporter of. You know this, but then just like running around, people just pointing guns at each other and then not doing anything, and then running around some more, and yeah, it was just so vastly different from the last 30 minutes. But
I also did think too, like maybe one other little thing that you might like, because I know you like the Evil Dead films, or you said you enjoyed those. There's a couple of scenes, maybe more than a couple. It reminds me of like that really super indie kind of budget and like that the film grain and some of the shots where they like zoom in and like weird angles. It kind of reminded me of Evil Dead. I was like, oh, he might appreciate that. Maybe that coupled with the last 30 minutes, it's pretty badass. And like the like guitar bump cut-ins, like at the last like he pulls out the sword. I was like, oh, I could see him liking that, but
yeah, I don't know. Whenever there would be like those cutesy little stylistic things, I'd be like, that's neat. And when that one of the two guys who was like pursuing him, not the guy with his hand cut off, but the other guy, he would say one of his funny little jokes, like, haha, that's funny. I was just so fucking irritated by this movie.
Yeah, sorry. Enough about my run on interpretation. Chris, what did you think this go around?
So I've seen this somewhere between 5 and 10 times.
Oh, okay.
So, but this last time I just watched it a few hours ago. I probably haven't seen it in at least like 5 or 6 years. But I mean, seeing as how I've seen it so many times, obviously there was a point in time where I really liked it. Like I said, I saw this around the time it came out. I was like 13, 14, 15 or whatever. So pretty much like the key demographic. Mm-hmm. And, you know, talking about The Matrix and Evil Dead, this is a movie that really wears like its influences on its sleeve. But at the time I hadn't seen most of the things it was referencing. So it was really like fresh and new to me. This time around, I noticed a lot more how referential it is. And also I felt like it was just way too long. I feel like, not that I disliked the part with the detectives, but that easily could have been removed from the movie and you wouldn't have lost anything.
Yeah.
You would have just gained a more tightly edited film. On the other hand, though, the first time I saw this, I didn't realize how low budget it was. So I guess this time I had more like had gained a new respect for it because the choreography is pretty damn good. Um, Cinematography as well, considering like how low budget of a film it is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. I think definitely some of the fighting scenes are look pretty good, and like you mentioned, The Matrix too. Have you since seen The Matrix, or you still have
No.
never seen it? Wow.
No. So I like movies like this and Brotherhood of the Wolf that are
Oh
like
man.
in that post Matrix wave because I'd never seen The Matrix. So, and now it's at the point where it's like, is it really going to impress me at all? Because it's like,
Probably not.
you know, every action movie that came afterwards takes from it in some way. So I don't think it has anything new to show me, you know?
Yeah,
I don't think you're missing too much by not having seen The Matrix.
I think it still holds up, and I honestly like for all the the bullet time and the super the now legendary Wu Ping and his coming in and his groundbreaking fight choreography that they used in the film. Honestly, I think the story still holds up as a worthwhile like philosophical or mental exercise. Just for the story alone, all the stuff that is the main selling point aside. Um, but the sequels for sure are dog shit. Except there is one scene in the second one where Larry Fishburne fucking salves out. That's super awesome. But yeah, and even the newest sequel was fucking hot garbage. But I still think the story at least stands up. But um, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, this film versus definitely like I'm curious because it came out in 2000, and I'm sure The Matrix probably they had a long cycle like production, shooting, editing, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious how aware this filmmaker and working on versus was of that or its significance.
Oh, very much.
Okay. Because like sometimes
Yeah. And
stuff I bet then maybe The Matrix was like more in like 97, 98. And then by the time this guy made verses, I'm sure he spit this out pretty quickly. So it's hard to tell like
yeah.
when the influence comes in, or if like maybe he was working on this since like 96 and he missed all that, and it was just happenstance that there's some similarities. But if they did see it and was aware of The Matrix, it's very much in this film for sure too. Which I liked.
Yeah,
I liked
no,
the
I skipped
aesthetic and the stuff that they brought in from that.
I skipped through some of the director's commentary and he mentioned The Matrix several times. And I never found out like what the total production time on this movie was, but their original plan was to shoot it in 10 days.
Damn.
So they could have watched it like the day after, like the day The Matrix came out and had this out the next year, really.
Damn. Yeah, that's crazy. One of the pieces of trivia, I guess, that's apropos right now is according to Ryuhei Kitamura, he raised the money to independently produce his film by borrowing money from friends and family after producers refused to produce an action film with him because to them it was impossible to achieve due to the lack of time and money. And then later he revealed that the biggest part of the budget was lunches and dinners for the cast and crew. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, I think I feel the same too. Like knowing that it was so low budget also makes me think about it in a different way, and like doing something guerrilla style like that, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I'm just like such a novice in this world. Like I don't even take things into consideration like creative cinematography or I just don't think about things on the same level as you guys do because I'm like I said, the special needs little brother who's just tagging along.
I mean,
I'm like, that's neat when they blew a hole in that guy. That was cool.
I still have a lot of those moments too. And I mean, especially compared to like Chris or people in that level of experience with this kind of stuff or cinema in general, I'd probably say I'm like maybe intermediate to his like master or expert level. But there's still like moments like, yeah, like when somebody's heart gets fucking ripped out and he takes a bite out of it, or the dude gets blown, that fucking special agent guy gets blown up by one bullet from that. It looked like a Barrett 50 cal, that big ass sniper rifle. I was like,
Yeah.
that's fucking funny. So I definitely had those.
I mean, a
too.
perfect example to try to conceptualize that is like, look at multi-million-dollar movies, action movies that come out now, where it's like they take the whole like Bourne Identity shaky cam thing to such an extreme that the scene is illegible, yet they've spent all of this money and all of these resources to make it. And here you have like this tiny little movie shot on a weekend in the woods of Japan. And it certainly has a lot of problems, but you can always tell what's going on in the fight scenes at the very least.
Yeah. And I also calling back to like the fact that this is kind of a disorienting film because I don't even think you get the mention of like character names, except for outside of the guy, the man, or the guy, I think they refer to him as, depending on the audio or the dub that you get or subtitles. But yeah, that's off-putting for sure. And then you also, like you said, it's till about 90-minute point where you even start getting an understanding of like, okay, this is a different place. Like there's resurrection shit happening. The key players kind of rise to the top. But yeah, for the first like hour plus, it's like, who the fuck is this? Who are these people? What's exactly, it's a really disorienting, like from a story perspective, I guess, film. And that called back to me. Cause I remember the first time I watched it, I was like I said, I don't know what I liked about this movie. I couldn't put my finger on it. I think it was just that, like, it was so new and fresh and like disorienting. Something about that attracted it to me, along with like, the dude blowing up and guy getting sliced a billion times at the end, like super comically, like a cartoon. Like, I think all those things juxtaposed was like the secret sauce, I guess, for me. But
Yeah, well, and sometimes I think just when you stumble across something that you're like, what the fuck is this? It kind of like endears it to you a little bit more than if somebody's like, oh, hey, you should watch this thing. Then you're kind of already looking at it differently than if you were just flipping through channels in the middle of the night and you're like, what the hell is going on here? I'll check it out,
Yeah. I guess just there's not a lot in the way of story, like we've alluded to, but from what I get out of this, trying to do some light analysis, is I identified like 4 main quote unquote characters. The first one too, I didn't catch this. This was like in the trivia and like doing a little background on it, but like the main guy, I was like, okay, this is our main dude. This is hero guy, but he is prisoner KSC 2-303. So I'll refer to him as the prisoner. So he's like our main good guy, light versus dark. And then there's the girl who she's literally, noted as her character name is the girl.
Did either one of you guys think it was weird that their prison jumpsuits said, what did it say, like prisoner or something, but it was
Lawbreaker,
in English?
I think.
Lawbreaker in English. I thought that was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then you have the third guy that's like the main, he's called the man or the guy. He's like this like sub demon, immortal. He can do weird shit. He's got powers. And then the rest of the cast are these just kind of like motley crew of like henchmen, cannon fodder type people that actually kind of stick around quite a bit because of the whole zombie and resurrection aspect. But the other guy noted that I thought would have been a source of comedic relief for you, Steve, is like the wild-eyed guy who's credited as Yakuza with butterfly knife.
Yeah, I'm talking about green shirt.
Yeah.
I think it's a green shirt guy who turns into a fucking crab or something later on.
Yeah. I thought he was like a dog. Like when he digs that hole and it kicks up the leaves. That part, yeah. I really got a hoot watching that part this time. He fucking digs a hole and disappears.
Yeah, I did have a couple moments that I'm not super proud of. I'm like, is that the Asian guy from Mortal Kombat? Like, no, it's a different guy. And then like is that the guy from Squid Game? Like, no, they're fucking Korean. Like, what are you doing? Like, but I could just feel my brain trying to like make these connections. Like, oh no,
Trying to
you
find
don't.
anything enjoyable about the movie.
He had a lot of funny moments too. Like that, I like the humor this time when I caught it. Maybe it was just my mood. Where he was a constant source I found myself chuckling at, like with his like tongue licks and like and like his wild eyes, how animated he was. Like I feel like he fucking just went for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like the psych.
Yes, he certainly did.
I still like the recurring joke of him karate chopping the girl. I find that funny.
That is pretty good.
Oh, our main guy right before he would start a fight, like knocking her out to like get her out of the way. Yeah. That was funny. I guess
like she's a jukebox and he's Fonzie, like, hang on. Boom.
Yeah.
Or the opposite.
One thing too I thought that made me chuckle probably more than it should is kind of towards the beginning when our main guy is like one of the many showdowns kind of where nothing happens and it's like a tense like back and forth like something's gonna happen and he's like he says this line in the stream we watched, the English dub, not the subtitle. He's like, here's the thing, I'm a feminist. And it was just out of nowhere, like it didn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
That part made me really fucking chuckle.
Yeah. So that was one of the parts of the director's commentary that I watched, and I was like, man, he really said a dumb thing after that. He was like, but it's true, I am a feminist, but only for pretty women. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I thought that
I was wondering if that was like an updated, instead of translated to like I need to protect her, they updated it to like I'm a feminist. So in 5 years it's going to be updated to like slay queen.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yas
queen. So the other thing too, like that isn't really presented, or I guess it is at the very beginning when you get the little bit of text, is that there's 666 portals in the world in this universe, and it intimates that where we're this forest that the whole movie takes place in is the 444th portal to the Forest of Resurrection. That's the part that got me, is like, do these people not know that they're in the Forest of Resurrection? Because it seems like they don't. Maybe a couple people understand what's going on, but it seems like later they become upon, like, I feel like they think they were going towards that and they didn't know they were yet in it. And then they come to that realization later on, like, oh, we are in the portal. That's why all these zombies, like every time someone dies, they come back. And there's weird rules around that too.
So let me ask you this, and this might be really stupid, but in that first scene where it's like the flashback, you know,
when they're wearing like the samurai shit, like when it looks like a clear time jump.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm going to refer to them as good guy, bad guy, and girl, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in the flashback, good guy and bad guy are fighting, and that's when these other undead come back and whatever. But the girl is there too, right? So in present day, good guy and bad guy are fighting in that same forest, and all the undead are coming back, and the girl's there. But the bad guy henchmen were saying that they had been burying people in this forest without a problem for who knows how many years.
Right.
So is the presence of the girl what causes the undead to come back?
Inquiring minds,
because they obviously weren't undying before. Or is it
maybe
the good guy?
I mean, I never thought about that. I just thought, like, zombie movies in general are always like they come back to life whenever it's convenient for the plot, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like sometimes someone gets bit and they become a zombie immediately, but if it's an important character, it's like a long, protracted thing for days.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is a good explanation that I never really thought of.
That's funny. You hated it this much, and you're putting this much thought behind it. Like, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was weird because they're like, we've been burying people here for so long. It's like, okay, well, why now? I guess it could be the good guy, the bad guy, or the girl that are sort of the catalyst for these bodies coming back, because they were all three there in the past and then in the present, and then the flash forward was just infuriating also. And like, it went from angry for 90 minutes, redeemed for 29, and then the last minute I'm like, what the fuck? You tried to just land the plane and crashed and burned. I mean, unless I didn't get it, like, so
I have the perfect explanation for it.
Let's hear it.
They wrote the dialogue for that scene 30 minutes before they filmed it.
The very last scene?
Yeah. And the director was just like, I want it to have a cool ending, but I don't know. And I think the producer or the writer was just like, well, what if the bad guy, or what if the good guy turned bad? And that's all the thought they put into it. So any more thought that you put into it was just wasted energy.
Because even that was somewhat unclear to me, because it seemed like, so one of my points of confusion was, in the flashback, bad guy kills good guy, but then in present day, good guy lives again, good guy kills bad guy, and then flash forward, they're both alive again, and girl's still there doing what she does. And then in the flash forward, I can't remember if it was girl or good guy is like, I want to join the bad side, but then it looks like they're running at him like it was a
like they were going to throw down.
Yeah, like, we're going to join you, and then like, psych, we're going to come at you and kill you.
Yeah.
And the confusion continues. I'm just
Well, I think part of it is like in the 900s or whenever the flashback takes place, like, good guy was actually a good guy, but throughout the movie they keep commenting like the girl and the bad guy are like, yeah, you've really changed since the last time. And he was in prison for killing like 43 people or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So then he gets like all of this power from that girl's blood of resurrection.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
That doesn't like suddenly make him a good guy in this timeline. He's still like a murderous piece of shit, but now he has a bunch of power. So I think the implication is that in those 99 years, he's just like destroying a bunch of shit, ends up destroying society basically. And then at the end, he's just like, well, I don't have anything else left to do, so let's just like fucking fight about it, I guess.
Yeah, because doesn't he says something like, there's nothing left. Like, and it looks kind of post-apocalyptic, like
anime stuff.
Yeah, it looks like very Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, it's funny because during that first like 90 minutes, there was so much happening, but nothing happening at the same time. But there was so little dialogue, but there was a lot of really like interesting, like, there was a lot of meat on the small amount of words they were talking about. Like when you were saying about, you know, how he's in prison for killing 40 something people and how he used to be a good guy. You know, there wasn't much dialogue, but what there was seemed to be pretty relevant, other than the weird like dubbing, closed captioning, mismatch stuff. But yeah, that's interesting.
I guess that does kind of go back to your point of maybe there is some reward watching it multiple times. Not that you would ever watch it a second time, but
never.
Since I wasn't paying attention to much of the action because that's lost its luster at this point, I think this is the first time that I really picked up on that stuff.
I have one piece of trivia, and I mean, take it with a grain of salt because I just pulled this like a lazy fucking bastard from IMDb, and I'm sure whatever source you have, Chris, from the director's commentary or somewhere else is probably more applicable or legit. But this on IMDb says relating to the end of the film, the cast, crew, and director, who called themselves Team Versus, had so much fun making this film that director Ryuhei Kitamura purposely filmed the movie with no ending, with hopes that they would be able to make a sequel. The DVD has since proved to be a cult success in both the US and Japan. So Japanese film companies have in the past greenlit the sequel and given it supposedly an exponentially higher budget. Team Versus planned on principal photography in the mid 2005, though as of August 2018, there's still been no further developments. And I've seen a couple other things, like someone talking about in like the 2010s they wanted to turn it into like a TV series, and then like in 2008, after this guy directed his American feature debut, Midnight Meat Train, there was some like juice.
Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which actually, side quest here, that is with what's his name?
That was my
Bradley
nickname in high
Cooper.
school. Midnight Meat Train.
Dude, I want to share so bad. What year is that you went to like prom in your like punk era? I still have that on my phone that you sent me that one time. You have like you're wearing like a suit jacket and like Converse, and you have like spiky.
So that was
Is that 8th grade dance?
No, that was it was either a freshman or a sophomore. Fuck.
I love that picture so much.
If you hang on for 1 sec, we can even edit this out, but I'll show it just so Chris can see it on the camera. I have it right here.
Yeah, if you have it
Hang on 1
handy,
sec.
it's
go
fucking
get it.
funny.
I'm a
One
grab a
moment.
beer.
It does not match the man you see before you now.
All right, yeah. So it was 02. So I was 15.
Keep this in mind.
classic.
Yeah. Good. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, you get the idea.
You get the picture.
We all had our blunder years.
Fuck. That took me totally off track what I was talking about. Midnight Meat Train.
Sequel.
Yeah.
Midnight Meat Train.
That's
yeah.
with what's his name?
Bradley Cooper and Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones is what's his name? Bullet Tooth in Snatch.
Bullet Tooth
Yeah.
Tony.
So he's in it, and Bradley Cooper from such hits as
What? Really?
Aloha
Yep.
Aloha?
and Silver Linings Playbook, The Hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it not too long ago, and I was like, this is all right.
Yeah, I like it. There's really only one like Kitamura ass scene in it where there's like a CGI eyeball.
I mean, it's pretty gruesome, but I mean, it's weird, like the hate that it got and like the low reviews on it, in my opinion. But
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I haven't seen too many of his movies really, other than Versus. I think I've seen that, Midnight Meat Train, Godzilla Final Wars, of course, which is pretty divisive amongst Godzilla fans because of Kitamura. And also Downrange was another American movie he did that I saw a few years ago. I don't remember really anything about it. It was fine.
yeah, I did a cursory look at what else he's done, and I haven't seen Downrange, but I did see Nightmare Cinema and a horror anthology, and I did see his vignette or his anthology story, which is definitely to me not the strongest. I mean, it's a pretty bad horror anthology, but except I would say the very first story is pretty satisfying, but his I didn't really care for either. So, but yeah, I guess so that kind of jump started some maybe sequel talk when he did his first American release with that kind of star power. But yeah, I think it not performing well definitely stamped the possibility of that out. I would watch a sequel of this for sure, especially if you got more than $10,000 to do it.
I've watched much worse, so
yeah, I mean, at this point too, I think it's probably futile talking through like the ins and outs of like the story beats, because it is just so kind of surreal and like there's not a lot of explanation. Even after trying to do a little bit of background and I think I have a better grasp of like what's going on, but just, yeah, when you watch it the first time through, it's like, what is all of this? And I mean, it doesn't help that there's no character names. You're just kind of thrust into this world. Um, and it gives way like the longer it goes on to like really like slapstick, like comically violent dispatches, which I thought like, I mean, this go around, I was just like face value. Let's have a good time. And I got a few chuckles. One thing I did make a note of was like, I was like the main guy, the good guy, prisoner. I kept hearing him in my head like he was like Bruce Willis, like some of the shit he was saying, and like one part where she says something, the girl, and then he just responds, "Plans change," and I just in my head I it called back to like
I'm a feminist.
yeah. Or like in Die Hard, like Bruce Willis saying like "Welcome to the party, pal," like just that kind of mentality. So that gave me a little bit more mileage, but also I thought another chuckle I got was when the girl at the end goes to offer her blood of resurrection to the prisoner, and she pulls out the babyest pocket knife of all time. That like this, I was like, dude, what is that? Like a specialty apple core or something? But I did this time too. I did like that kind of little, the little twist. Like she gives her blood to save this guy, and at first, like the man, the bad guy, is like, oh, he's all pissed off. I could kill you right now, and then he's like, you've just fallen into my trap. I needed the resurrected blood.
You just activated my trap card.
Yeah, like this is you fallen right into my plans. It was my plan all along. And then the guy, or our prisoner guy, comes in and he says what he said multiple times throughout the film, and he's like, "You talk too much." That was another like. I was like, this is Bruce Willis right now. This is a Bruce Willis film, but
yeah, he is there's a lot of tropes in this, and he's definitely the stereotypical anime protag.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too. Like, I know you're a novice to like anime films too in general, Steve, but I have a little bit more, like, I don't have a lot of like Asian horror or action for that matter, like experience or exposure. But I do have a fair bit, I guess, of anime, and a lot of like the feel out of this I've seen in different anime films too. So I think it gives a little bit more mileage for me to watching this and being able to roll with it. Because a lot of anime is very surreal, and like you're just kind of plopped into this world. And
so what's below novice? Because that's what I would be when it comes to anime. I know less than nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably know by osmosis, like there's a lot of like Ghost in the Shell is like a seminal anime film, which I mean, even if I bet if you talk to some people now too, that's probably considered trite, but there's a lot of that like influence of that in The Matrix and like other American things but like I said, it's only like through osmosis. If you went back and watched it,
all I know is like tentacle porn or whatever you guys are into.
Whatever the kids are into these days. But that is interesting though that you bring up Ghost in the Shell and The Matrix, because there is kind of like that like a cross-pollination sort of thing going on, because The Matrix is like heavily influenced by like wuxia Hong Kong cinema, and then it comes back around to where that thing that's influenced by Asian cinema is now influencing Asian cinema with verses. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Ouroboros.
You're such a douche.
Do we have a colloquial corner this week? Because I have one that I think Jim might really
like. Nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. I was struggling for one, and I was like, nah, fuck it. We're just gonna take. I have kind of one, but it'd be a lame entry. So if you have one, that's great. Do you want to save it for later? Or you want to drop it right now?
Yeah, we can save it for later.
Cool. Yeah, I was trying to plumb the depths for a Denzel devotional, or a colloquial corner. I was just coming up empty, man. So cool. Yeah, we'll get into that later then for sure. There's really not much else to say, I don't think, about except for like the end part, Steve. Like I guess let's focus on the best parts. It's probably obviously like the action, and they finally get down to business, and there's people that get heads sliced off and holes blown through their chest. I liked how it jumped from like they went back into like, you know, ancient like samurai era garb, and then like the quick flashback, and then all of a sudden he's got this badass sword and like a modified M16, and then it's just on, you know, triggered by those like Bill and Ted style like the
Yeah. Well, it seemed like that's when the momentum picked up for the story. Like, okay, I see, you know, this is what's going on. We're going somewhere. Whereas the first hour and a half, it just seemed like fledgling, just like weird, random shit going on. But then at that little 90-minute mark, it was like, okay, now we know what's going on. This is what's going to happen. I can sort of look forward to it. And one of the funny things that always, it doesn't even bother me, it just makes me laugh, is how idiotic like the gun stuff is in movies, where someone will have a 6-shooter and shoot it like 1,000 times without ever reloading it, or
yeah.
you know, somebody invariably is carrying a 900 rounds of ammo with them, and just there's no explanation for it at all, which is fine, doesn't bother me. And if you look at the way somebody shoots a gun, there's like a firecracker explosion,
Yeah.
but there's no recoil at all. It's just like a blast.
Yeah, they're
Again,
shooting
doesn't
like
bother
Roman
me.
candles, basically.
Yeah. It always gives me a good chuckle.
Interesting piece of trivia about dumb gun stuff in this
Yeah.
movie. I used to have the special, like I had the special edition DVD for this like 20 years ago or whenever it was. And in one of the behind the scenes thing, I don't know if you guys remember this, there's a scene where good guy is holding 2 guns and then has another gun in his mouth.
Yeah. I remember
Originally, he was supposed to rack the slide of that gun like with his mouth, like biting down on it and then pushing the grip with his hand.
that. Terrible
And
idea.
so the director wanted him to have like a piece of rubber in his mouth to like protect his teeth, but he said this thing that I still remember to this day where he was like, I was very proud of how strong my teeth are. 'Cause that's just like a weird thing for someone to pride themselves on. So
I think that's just like a Japanese thing. Like,
yeah, for sure. So he just raw dogged it and chipped his tooth.
Fuck that. Oh, that sounds so painful. Ugh.
Yeah. I hate tooth chipping stuff.
Dude. I mean, he was probably one of those guys that
some
could pop a beer. You know, like there's always that one guy that can fucking
Fuck
that
that.
can pop a beer with their teeth, you know, like a pop or not a pop top or not a twist off.
I mean, some people have a hard time doing it with both hands.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine. Oh God.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the resistance is on like fake guns. Maybe it's easier.
Oh yeah, it was a fake.
But
one.
I guess it would.
Jesus.
I mean, it would have to be metal to chip your tooth, right?
Yeah, because that's weird. Because I've seen
you would-
at some
yeah, you would
action
think.
films, they're like rubber as shit, you know, or they're like. I've heard they have different weights for like the situation too. Like they have like a more dense like polymer, like a harder plastic that looks better close up. So maybe give him the benefit of the doubt. He got like he had like a sturdier style, or maybe because it was so low budget, it was just a real ass gun that wasn't
Maybe.
chambered.
I
don't
thought
know.
about that, but I think you can't really get handguns in Japan. Probably.
That's a good
No,
point.
they all look fake as shit.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm not a gun guy
Maybe
really,
the-
so I couldn't tell.
maybe they made the top of it out of like Abba Zaba or like a Laffy Taffy and it just fucking broke it off.
Abba Zaba, you my only friend. The one that stood out to me was like went towards the end where he like turns and all of a sudden he has an M16 looking assault rifle at the end, and it looks like the scope is made out of, it's like white, offset to like the black gun, and it looked like it was made out of like PVC pipe, basically, or it was like one of those like sniper scopes from the old Super Nintendo, like Duck Hunt on
Duck
steroids gun, like morphed onto that. But yeah, that part I was like, that definitely looked like they jerry rigged in 5 minutes before the scene.
Also, I
go
haven't
ahead.
seen Highlander, but that was like your lost episode.
It is, yes.
Christ.
And apparently they stole the thing of him like putting his sword together in a briefcase. Apparently that's from Highlander.
Dude, that's crazy you say that, because I swear to God, this time I was watching it, I was like, oh, dude, that sword's fucking dope. I was like, that reminds me of the fucking sword that the Kurgan has, that he puts, that can be only one.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that, real quick? I had forgotten how stupid I thought that part in Highlander was. And then when they did it in this movie, I'm like, how the fuck is, you can't just assemble a huge broadsword like that in a briefcase. But I did not connect the two at all. It's not like a huge sniper rifle that you can break down and then put together.
Right.
You can't do that with a sword.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it makes no sense that the blade comes in pieces.
Yeah.
That makes no fucking sense.
It reminded me when like he put the two pieces together,
Yeah, you would
and then
immediately hit somebody and just break apart.
That it reminded me of like the old magician's trick, you know, like when they put a girl in and like to that box and they saw him all of a sudden. Like for some reason, it made me think of that. It's like they put the thing together and then pulls out a huge ass sword that's all one piece. But really, the thing that got me was about Highlander was the hilt, like the hand guard, like how it comes over the front. It's got like those like it looks like a dragon tail with like scales.
Wait, are you telling me magic's not real?
Hey man, talk to David Blaine, right?
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, that it's funny too. That episode, that lost episode, we talked about David Blaine also.
A lot.
Yeah, and that was gold. That was gold. It was just lost to the digital sands. Yeah, fuck God, that pissed me off so bad. It was more not pissed off, it was more like sheer embarrassment that I had done that. Like I'm that stupid that I didn't hit the record fucking button. Ugh. Yeah.
We had some fun David Blaine riffing.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. All lost, but yeah. That guy is freaky, man. Some of the shit he does, I'm like, dude. But
he's the devil. Anyway.
Yeah, that's great. Dude, Chris, you got to get on Highlander. It's so good. I love that film.
No, it's not. You don't have to get on it. It's not good.
The only thing I remember is there was like a TV show and my parents watched it, and that's just like, to me, I'm like, oh, that's fucking lame. I'm not gonna fucking watch something
so
my
much
parents
divorced from what the series, the TV series that was, I think it was on the USA channel for fucking many moons. It is.
Yeah, because that led to a Wings riff.
Yeah, fuck the
Lost forever.
The Wings riff too. Roy
Highlander, the TV show's bad. Don't derail us. Highlander's awful. Sean Connery is just an embarrassment in that movie.
Dude, he's so good. He plays a stated Egyptian, and he's not Egyptian in any fucking way. God.
That's like in Street Fighter where Jean-Claude Van Damme is American.
Yeah. I don't see the problem there.
Yeah, don't get Steve started on Street Fighter.
We are a melting pot. Thank you very much. He came to this country for a better opportunity to kick ass.
From Belgium? I'm pretty sure they have better opportunities than we do.
Not to kick ass.
Fair enough.
Got to come to ground zero for that.
Dude. That was so fun pulling that Carlos Blanca. I was like, dude, he's going to love this.
Truly.
Side note, one time, I fucking love Street Fighter. I love that movie.
Man.
Thank you.
One time, a friend and me played a drinking game of that, and he started puking in the bathtub 45 minutes into it.
What's the game?
What was the bell that had to be rung to drink?
There were so many, but
every time you're watching a great movie, and
one of them was like, drink every time this one character is on screen but doesn't say anything. And you really don't notice it until that's a drinking game rule, but he's in like every fucking scene.
Is it?
I think it was T-Hawk.
God, that's the biggest problem I had with that film is they butchered so many. Like, I was a huge Dee Jay fan, and they did him so dirty in that fucking movie.
Talking about that's your biggest problem. You were a huge. Oh my god!
They didn't. They messed up the DJ lore.
Yeah.
That's your biggest problem.
Yeah, they had the guy from Chihuahua Man
fan?
as DJ. I was like, dude, come on.
That's your biggest problem.
That's my biggest problem with Street Fighter.
DJ didn't get enough screen time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fuck. Highlanders, strong recommend. But yeah, that sword scene. That's funny you brought that up because I was like, dude, this is like the Kurgan. So synchronicity. Yeah, the I called him the Jester character because he reminded me of a jester, the dude with the wild eyes, the butterfly knife, and the fucking that dude. Him digging a hole like a dog.
You called him something else before we started.
Green shirt,
but it was
Yakuza guy with
it was
knife
a racial
or something.
slur, and I didn't think you wanted to bring that up. So.
Come on now. We're better than that here at old
Just kidding.
Waxing the Porpoise. Yeah, I love that part where he turned into like, or when he did that weird back bicycle kick into the fucking tree. That part cracked me up. But yeah, I mean, this is a terrible. I won't go that far. This is a bad movie, but it's got a lot of fun moments in it, and I think I'd still. This is like one. It's like, I think it would be conducive to like a group watch atmosphere, maybe a few beers, having a good time to kind of like laugh at.
Good luck getting through this movie. If you're trying to watch it with a group,
yeah,
it's got to be a pretty like-minded, specific kind of group that can enjoy like this type of movie. You know, I can't imagine.
Fair. Yeah, I wouldn't open it up to like, the normies. Hey, let's watch Versus from 2000. No. They're like, what's Versus?
I feel like it kind of actually is a decent normie introduction to Japanese like horror films or cult films because it's not so different that they're not going to have anything to latch on to,
I mean, is this what normal Japanese horror movies are like?
Well,
are they worse?
I mean, they're in varying degrees, but this is like a pretty good first introduction because, I mean, East Asian horror in general kind of has a tendency to mix like slapstick humor in with like really intense gore. So I would say it's fairly representative, at least of time and place.
I mean, conceptually, I like the sound of that, but
did somebody order a bitch?
I found it.
Yeah. I think your impression of it was funnier than the actual one.
It was. When I actually found it, I was like, I thought she added a little bit more English onto the bitch, like with the vocal fry. When I actually found it, like, it's one of those weird things, like you remember things differently, and your memory degrades over time and changes things around. That was definitely one of them because she gives it very matter of fact. In my head, I could have sworn it was like very Valley Girl with that vocal fry. Like, did somebody order a bitch? To no avail.
Well, yeah, chances are you are funnier than SNL, so that's not really surprising to me.
Yeah, how the mighty have fallen.
Why are you screen sharing right now? What are you trying to show us?
Dude, because the fucking bumps on Riverside here took a shit again.
Brazilian foot porn? That's weird. Why would you show us that?
Hell yeah, suck toes, welcome to Pop Copy. How may I help you?
What's Lemon Party?
Okay. So yeah, I think that'll do it for us or I guess the other thing too, Chris has like an extensive knowledge of Southeast Asian horror. So you giving that versus is fairly representative of that, this milieu is something you can take to the bank pretty much. I remember your last, like, what was it, like your last 30 episodes plus were all on like super obscure like Southeast Asian horror that you just like banged out all in a row. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, I was doing a thing where I was trying to see like a horror movie from every East and Southeast Asian country. So it wasn't necessarily all obscure by design, but more of the fact like how many horror movies have come out of like Laos or Cambodia. Not a whole lot. So they're pretty much going to be obscure by definition.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. And there was a couple that I watched that I was like, holy shit.
I would say that the hidden gem of Asian horror is anything out of Hong Kong pre about 1997. I think the boutique labels are starting to try and catch up on that, but it's something no one ever talks about. And I think, especially if you're into just like crazy, violent shit, like off the wall, something happens crazy every 5 minutes. Definitely check out some of that stuff, like Seeding of a Ghost or Rikki-O, or there's just so many.
Sounds good to me.
Amazingly crazy things.
What was that one? It's one that you champion quite a lot. I want to say it's Sweet Home, where the cat.
Yeah, both actually.
What?
The cat is from Hong Kong. Oh, go ahead.
The cat is the cat called The Cat? Is that the one?
Yes, it's called The
Dude,
Cat.
Steve, just for a pure, like, you should watch it. Dude, there's so many fucking scenes. Like, I think about them now and I'll just start fucking rolling, dude. Like somebody shooting like a cat, like a Hadouken fireball into something. Like,
there's a scene where a cat and a dog have like a WWF style wrestling match. It's fucking amazing.
Or it's just called The Cat.
Yeah. It's you can't find it, but if either of you ever want to watch it, I have it.
yeah, if nothing else, I think you can find some clips or GIFs online that kind of drive the point home, that are super funny. But yeah, I remember that one. And Sweet Home too is one I've heard about more and more. The deeper I've kind of gotten into like the obscure horror realm.
It's a solid one.
Is there anything else either of you guys want to touch on about Versus? Put a pin on it?
No, I don't think so.
Check it out, I guess. It's not it's fun. I think everyone should see it at least once. I mean, even if Steve hated it, it's a special film that can inspire that sort of rage within someone. So at least it makes you feel something, you know?
I hated 3/4 of it. Gwenza, do you have the 3/4 of this article is inaccurate?
Ah, fuck. I wish I did, man. I would try to search for it right now, but
No, it's okay.
That'd be bad pod.
3/4 of this is inaccurate. Because it's garbage!
3/4 of this article is inaccurate. Yeah, I would say watch it, check it out, just to, like, you know, then you could be like, okay, I don't like this shit, or hey, this is fucking.
Yeah, I say don't.
All right.
Just to be fair,
solid recommend then from the Porpoise gang. So, do you want to get into the that colloquial corner you brought for us, Chris?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. So
hold up. Let me get this. Damn it! I should have had it queued up. I'll bring it up later. Oh no, wait! I got it right here. Excuse me.
Hell yeah.
The colloquial corner.
Wait,
Hell
first
yeah.
thing too. Have you ever seen Fifth Element?
No.
Ah, damn it.
Me either. Suck it, bitch.
That like end part on Colloquial Corner reminds me of Ruby. You're keeping it live at 5 with Ruby Rod. Chris Tucker's performance alone is worth.
You're doing that thing where you ask people if they've ever seen a movie and they say no, and yet you still reference the movie they haven't seen.
Yeah, that's
Guilty.
how this goes.
Guilty as charged. It's my way of like, it's like desperation. Like maybe this will get them to watch it. Anyway, Fifth Element is dope. Check it out if you haven't. So yeah, this week's Colloquial Corner brought to you by way of Chris this time. Another first.
Yes. So one thing Steve always says about you is that you like phrases.
I love them.
And you like units of measurement.
Yep.
So if I were today's Colloquial Corner, if I were to tell you the phrase half a Dr. Pepper and tell you that that is a unit of measurement, what do you think it's measuring?
Half a Dr. Pepper. Holy shit. Automatically, like my like analytical side wants to say, okay, what's half of 12 ounces, a single can of Dr. Pepper? Or
After he's done, can I guess?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Or then I think of like an old, like, you know, like one of those Shake Shack, like, what do they call those places? Like with a guy that kind of, soda jerk that makes like a lime Ricky, like in the 50s, and like one of those style glasses, like not a pint, but like slightly bigger than a pint. And it's got like a bulbous, like, you know what I'm talking about? So then I think, okay, is it half of 16 ounces? Maybe so we're either at 6 or 8 ounces. I'll say 8 ounces. Steve, what say you?
Go, Steve.
So the phrase in question is half a Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
I think it has something to do with it's not fluid measurement. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know.
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Keep teasing it out.
Or something completely different, like it's like it's a half-size pickup.
No, interesting guess though. I mean, I guess I have to say Steve was closer because he said it's not fluid.
Does it have to do
which
with
is closer than fluid?
prunes?
No. So this is that good shit. Like you can't even look this up on Urban Dictionary because it's so you have to like talk to some super southern dude. I've heard someone say this in Texas, like salt of the earth type. Half a Dr. Pepper is a unit of measurement that measures time and or distance.
What?
As in, you go down the road half a Dr. Pepper and then take a left on Lyndale Avenue.
But how do you know if it's a mile? So you take you go down a half a mile and take a left on this. How do you know what it is?
Well, that would be the half a Dr. Pepper.
It's the amount of time that it would take you to drink half a Dr. Pepper.
Holy shit.
You just blew his mind.
Yeah.
This is gonna
dude. No, I'm thinking about incorporating it in the future.
I know.
No one will know what the fuck you're talking about.
And then I get to explain it, and it's a fun anecdote. Yeah, that shit's awesome. But it's like word of mouth. This is like oral history.
I have a secondary one that I also haven't been able to find anywhere online that I just learned when I was in Bulgaria a couple weeks ago. This guy said that 2 people were like stillborn goats on top of a bridge. And as best I could tell, it means you're at an impasse, but I have no idea like what the fuck that's supposed to mean.
Is that like a translation issue or no?
I don't know. He just said it.
Yes.
I didn't question it.
2 stillborn goats at the top of a bridge.
My first thought was like cold, like they're up there, they're shivering, like.
Well, they're stillborn. They don't shiver.
Oh,
yeah, they're dead.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I would have never came up with we're at an impasse.
I had additional context that led me to believe that, just the other things he was talking about, but I thought it was a really interesting turn of phrase.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, that feels like super complex. Like layering of, instead of just saying, yeah, it's kind of 50-50 right now. Sweet.
Sounds like a fuzzy foreigner.
Well, that was an awesome addition to Colloquial Corner. That's good shit, because, yeah, like, stuff you can't find online, like, you're down on the ground, like, talking to people, and, like, stuff that doesn't, like, make it to the critical mass, like, on the hyperspace train of, like, internet and everything being available at once kind of thing.
None of those words made sense. I'm just curious, Chris, why were you in Bulgaria?
Vacation.
Really nice.
And that question you asked me is exactly what Bulgarian customs asked me.
Oh, nice.
Along with how much money do you have and show me the money.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was a sketchy situation.
Damn.
Jerry Maguire.
Fuck. That's stuff like you hear about, and it's like, oh, fuck.
And obviously, it was customs, so I had just gotten off the plane, and that was my first interaction with the Bulgarian people. So I was thinking it was more sketchy than it actually was, but other than that, I had no negative experiences there.
Right on. Damn, that'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be crazy. The first impression you get of the place. Didn't you say when we were trying to schedule this up, you said you kind of took a tour of a couple Scandinavian countries? I don't know if you want to get into this on the pod, but if so,
yeah, for sure.
Denmark was one of the spots. Where else did you go? Because Steve is Swedish by heritage. Were you there?
I went to Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on a bench in Malmo, Sweden, when I was responding to you in a text message. And from there, I went to Bulgaria, Serbia, and North Macedonia.
Damn, that is an eclectic group of countries to check out.
Did you see my grandpa?
I did.
Yeah. I thought
it was weird. He was like, "Do you know Steve?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Well, I'm his grandpa."
No, I figured.
I want to try to do a Swedish accent in my head, but I'm drawing a blank. I just think German.
So they don't talk much, so
you must have taken a detour to heaven. He's actually probably in hell. Go ahead.
Damn. This is the side that is that you hate.
Yeah.
They're the side of the heritage that you champion.
Yeah, awful people.
Ever since I saw a girl with the dragon tattoo, I was like, because I know they filmed a lot of that on location in Sweden. I was like, damn, I want to go there. That looks fucking awesome. Either of you guys seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by David Fincher, guy who directed Seven? Steve?
No.
Oh, fuck.
Look at him. He's upset.
I mean, it's a very mainstream, but it's like, it's so good. And it's kind of lower on Fincher's scale. It doesn't have a lot of good ratings, but hot take. I think it's top 3 David Fincher by far. It's an awesome fucking film. Anyway, check it out. A lot of it's shot on location in Sweden. It looks like a beautiful country. Little Rock's a fine town.
I would actually say, I know you mentioned wanting to go on a Scandinavian tour. After going to Copenhagen, I feel like that's a city that is vastly underrated by American tourists. I don't know if people just don't go there or what, but it's definitely a city that has something for everyone. I would say it's, of the places I went, it's the only one I would give like a blanket recommendation to just about anyone.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's good to know.
Not specific to Copenhagen. They were probably talking about it, but I remember seeing something a couple years ago about Denmark, and people talking about how it's like it's super chill, and it seems like a really like it's definitely under the radar in terms of like when people go to visit Europe or Scandinavia. I feel like Denmark probably gets short shrift, but yeah, they were talking about all the pluses of it, and it seems like a super cool country.
Yeah, like I kind of got the impression they're like the rowdier of the Scandinavian people, like because we have our stereotypes of Scandinavians being like very serious and straight laced, but people there are just like smoking cigarettes all over the place. I think the drinking age is like 16, and you can drink everywhere.
Damn.
So people are just like drinking beers on the metro, or just like walking around the terminal of the airport with a beer. There's beaches, there's really high end restaurants. It's very bikeable. Anyone could have fun there.
Yeah, it seems super cool. I would definitely like to check that out for sure. Side note, movie related. Have either of you guys seen Flame and Citron with Mads Mikkelsen? It's a Danish film. Maybe it's Norwegian or Swedish. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but it's definitely set in Denmark. It's like the plight of I don't know what the term is for Denmark as a people.
You didn't ask
Danish.
me. You didn't let me.
Sorry.
You didn't let me answer.
Oh, have you seen it?
No.
Fuck! I should have known it. God damn it!
I didn't. I've never even heard of most of the words you just said. So
it's a war movie. It takes place during World War II. It's when I guess a ton of Danish people worked with they just bent over or because of circumstances they just worked with the Nazis during World War II, and then there was a resistance within of Danish people that were against the Nazis and Hitler and all that stuff, and they actually had the balls to fucking stand up and say no, get the fuck out of our country. But Mads Mikkelsen's in it, the dude who played Hannibal. He's been in Doctor Strange. He plays an excellent Hannibal. He's in it, and some other dude, and it's all in Danish, so it's subtitled. It's a really good World War II flick. They're basically like assassins for the Dutch resistance, and they just fuck shit up. It's awesome. Anyway,
that does sound like something I would like.
It's fucking rad. Yeah, it's right along the lines of Private Ryan, just a totally different flavor and storyline.
What's it called?
Flame and Citron. Because Citron is Mads Mikkelsen. He fucking does the Molotov cocktails. That's his finisher. And Flame is this Danish dude that has flaming ass red hair. So they come infamous. They're like Flame and Citron. They just hit guerrilla style, Thief in the Night. They'll go to they'll find a German SS or a high level German dude that's on leave for 2 weeks in Denmark, and they'll go into his fucking hotel room and blow his head off. All
right, well, let's not reveal too much.
Yeah, I know I probably spoiled, but no, that's just one of many dope scenes. That's a really good flick. Anyway, okay, so yeah, I think. You guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Nope.
Cool.
I think it's a good thing that they blew up Nazis.
Yes, very good. And that film
I'm on board
definitely
with that.
Ties in. It definitely feeds that reward center. Fuck yeah. Through the eyes of the Danish, which is a fun, different perspective. Cool. So yeah, thank you for coming on, Chris. This has been a lively discussion, and
Absolutely.
I'm glad you were able to join us. Before we end, if you want to reach out to us, let us know what you thought of the episode. Have any questions for us or Chris? You can reach us at our email is wax@waxingtheporpoise.com. Also, our socials, Instagram is waxingtheporpoise, and at Twitter at waxingtheporp. Next week, we're teasing a little bit here. We're going to cover Poltergeist from 1982, directed by Tobe Hooper or Steven Spielberg, depending on who you talk to. I'm sure we'll get into that when we start talking about it. But we'll also have another guest, back-to-back special guests. We'll have Staring John Kenyon join us to discuss Poltergeist. So...
nice.
Yeah, again, Chris, thank you very much. It's been awesome. good times had by all. Do you want to plug Channel 83 again? Tell people where they can check it out, or anything else that you have going on content creation wise in the future?
Yeah, just check out channel83.video, or I think the Twitter tag is at channel83pod. Been a while since I've said that, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Sweet. Yeah, check it out. Gold star for Channel 83. Really good stuff.
Well, we got to have him back. This was a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember I shared like the next few episodes we're doing, and one of which is Phantasm 2, which I have much stronger confidence level that Steve will enjoy, that you expressed interest in. So yeah, if you want to come back for Phantasm 2,
I'd be down.
Yeah, I think that'll be a super fun one. Sweet. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Reg.
Man, I know you're trying to get out of here, but I just remember this. How dare you? Cutting cards is the best Tales from the Crypt episode.
Oh man, you listen to that episode too? Sweet.
I didn't listen to your guest spot, but on this show you mentioned that you didn't really like it, and I just had to say, how dare you?
Yeah,
Damn,
so
get his ass.
I think
get his ass.
I think on this pod when I talked about it, I was downplaying it because I listened to the guest spot that I was on later, and I think I was more high on it in that episode. So I think I didn't want to spend too much time or get fixated on it on this show, but I think if memory serves me, I gave it, because they do have, it's like a whole school theme, like Ghoulish University, so their rating scale is letter grade, and I want to say I gave it a B+. So I do like that episode. I mean, I in that episode too, I regale everyone with how much I love Lance Henriksen. So and Kevin Tite.
Listen to this backtracking. That's what you're hearing right now.
Backslide.
Yeah,
beep,
you could probably say that too, but beep. I guess in my heart of hearts, I mean, compared to, like, I'm a pretty big Tales from the Crypt fan, so compared to the ones that I really fucking like, I would place it a scotch lower, but outside of that, like, just face value, watching it, it's a good episode. It's definitely a top tier, because there's some fucking real stinkers when it comes to Tales from the Crypt, for sure. So,
how dare you?
I think, dude, my favorite is gotta be Television Terror with Morton Downey Jr. or the one with what's her name, Michelle Johnson and Brian James, the logger one. Yeah. That's one of my faves.
Okay, you've redeemed yourself by name dropping Michelle Johnson.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
Wrap it up. All is one with the world.
Do not let my calm demeanor fool you, Ranger!
This has been Waxing the Porpoise. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you guys next week. Bye. All right.